Hello, everybody, and welcome to the discussion of Star Trek Phase 2 New Voyages episodes 4 and 5, Blood and Fire. And this is adapted from a script by David Gerrold that was originally written for the first season of The Next Generation, but it was rejected because it positively portrayed homosexuality and gave a look on the issue of AIDS. And that's already a big subject right there, because remember when Star Trek Discovery came out and there was that big story about Star Trek Discovery being groundbreaking as a Star Trek show once again by having a gay couple on the show, Stamets and Calvo. And they really did it well. To this day, besides Saru, Stamets and Calvo are my favorite characters, especially when they're together. They're a cool couple. That's one of the highlights, one of the very few highlights of that show. But the way they marketed it, like it's that big breakthrough, and then you think back that in 1987, David Gerrold wrote this script for Star Trek The Next Generation, showing a gay couple, and it was rejected for positively portraying homosexuality. And it wasn't the last instance that Star Trek would do that in that time frame. Around the same time, writers were talking about a scene where Captain Picard would teach Wesley Crusher about adult relations, and Gene Roddenberry told them basically that Captain Picard should explain to him adult relations is when a man and a woman, or a man and a man, or a woman get together and have their relations. And when Gene Roddenberry left the room, the writers were basically like, okay, we'll just do the man and woman part. People aren't ready for the other stuff. And it continued from there. Like in the first season of DS9, I keep forgetting the name of the episode because the first season of DS9, except for a few highlights, is a bit of a blur. But the first episode that Andrew J. Robinson as Garak appeared, Andrew J. Robinson intended to portray Garak as a homosexual character. And you can really see it in the first episode that he appears, because I think he was really inspired by, if you watch Sir Ian McKellen, you know, Magneto and Gandalf in real life, like when he does interviews and stuff. Andrew J. Robinson portrays Garak in that same way, in that same old guy getting close up to people he likes. And it's kind of a gay version of Rune McClanahan and Golden Girls, like old woman likes to get touchy-feely with younger guys. And many straight people hesitantly admit that the Rune McClanahan as Blanche in Golden Girls being the older woman who gets touchy-feely with younger guys, it's kind of hot in its own way, like thinking of that old woman getting touchy-feely with younger guys. There's something hot about it, and I think gay guys think the same thing about Sir Ian McKellen. The way he's kind of flamboyant and likes to get close even when not asked to be, but being old gives him that excuse that he's automatically being forgiven for it. And there's, you know, for me as a straight guy, I think of it the same way as Rue McClanahan as Blanche in Golden Girls, that there's something hot about that, about like a woman over 50 getting close without being asked. And there's something strangely attractive about it. In a weird way, I can't explain it, but I think many guys secretly feel the same. That there's something weirdly hot about it. And like I said, Andrew J. Robinson portrays Garak that way in the first episode that Garak appears. But when he made it public that he was intending to portray Garak as a gay character, again, the executives, the people in charge said, no gays, no homosexuality, no positive portrayal of homosexuality. Just like in the TNG script and the things Gene Roddenberry said, no. People are afraid of gays. We can't show that. People think gays are weird. We can't show that. People are scared of that. We can't show that. So they, against everything that Gene Roddenberry stood for, they kind of had to do the Star Trek sci-fi way, the same way they did the black-white kiss in TOS, Plato's Stepchildren, that they were possessed by aliens, so it would be okay. So they did stories with like Terry Farrell as Dex kissing a woman because they had different hosts and they used to be in a heterosexual relationship. Or Ezri Dex and Intendant Kira in the Mirror Universe. Oh, yeah, it's in the Mirror Universe where everything is evil, so they can show it. So they did their Star Trek-y backhanded way to show it, because the writers and the producers of the show wanted to show that homosexuality is normal, but obviously the executives were like, oh no, people are scared of that, we can't do that, so they rejected the David Gerrold script for Blood and Fire and the Gene Roddenberry suggestions and the Andrew J. Robinson suggestions. So they rejected that, so they had to do some backhanded sci-fi ways to show it, but obviously they wanted to show it. But yeah, so the first appearance of Garak was in the early 90s, and first episode of Star Trek Discovery was a few years ago. So it took like 25 years until Star Trek finally decided that, oh, now it's safe enough to show homosexuals. Now it's safe. Now the majority of people think homosexuality is not something to be scared of. Now we can show it. Now the majority of people think it's okay. Now we can show it. And the way they market it in Star Trek Discovery, that is groundbreaking. Wow, they're showing homosexuals as something that is normal. And wow, it's so groundbreaking. That's really the definition of pure selectivism to me, because why if you believe in something, why would you only say it once it's safe? There's actually a famous German punk song about it that has pretty much those exact same lyrics that are saying, after it's safe to say, you say, yeah, I always thought that way, but if you always thought that way, then why didn't you say it earlier? Why did you only say it when it's safe? So every time there's an issue in society, before it's safe, you will always keep quiet. And what kind of person does that make you, if you always keep quiet until it's safe? And what kind of franchise does it make Star Trek that it doesn't feel the courage to address something before it's absolutely safe, before it's only a few religious nutjobs that are against it? And let me say at this point, I'm not a supporter of the LGBT movement. I'm not a supporter of gay pride parades, because personally, you know, the thing is, some people are gay, some guys are gay, some girls are lesbian, and it's no big deal. Let them be. And that's why I don't support any movements or parades, because it shouldn't be a big deal. Just leave them be. Let some guys be gay and some girls be lesbian. Who cares? How does it affect me negatively in any way? It doesn't affect me positively in any way either. It doesn't affect me at all. Just let some guys be gay and some girls be lesbian. Who cares? Nobody should care. Just leave people be. Let people live their own lives. And if you want to go a step further with gay marriage, who cares? How does it affect your life as some gay or lesbian people get married? Who cares? Leave them be. Let people live their own lives. Who cares? So I'm not a supporter of any of those movements, because I really honestly don't give a fuck, because why should I care? It's not something that affects me in any way. It's just something that I know some guys are gay, some girls are lesbian, and who cares? It's not a big deal. Everybody is into different things. Who cares? But no, Star Trek the franchise had to wait 25 years to finally admit to saying, yeah, this is actually a normal thing, when everybody else, when the whole planet around them basically accepted that whole thing decades earlier. And even a Star Trek TNG writer in the first season already proposed a script saying this is actually something that just exists. Some guys are gay. That's just how it is. Some guys are gay. And who cares? Why couldn't we show on a show like Star Trek that some guys are gay? What's the issue? But yeah, they had to wait 25 years about it for it, and then they had to do a big show about it being so groundbreaking. That's just pathetic. That's so pathetic that they waited until it's totally safe and then they say, oh, we are groundbreaking 25 years after blocking it for 25 years. They say, now we're being groundbreaking after it's completely safe. Now we're being groundbreaking. It's pathetic. And I don't mean that in a bad way towards the characters of Paul Stamets and Hugh Culber or the actors of Wilson Cruz and Anthony Rapp. I don't mean that as a disparagement towards them, because it's not their fault that Star Trek was so pathetic about it for a quarter of a century. But I'm sorry, I really blame the marketing behind Star Trek Discovery, that it's so pathetic that they try to present it as groundbreaking that for something that existed as an idea among Star Trek writers and actors for a quarter of a century, and now they feel safe to do it and have the guts to present it as groundbreaking. That's pathetic. But anyway, that subject aside, of course the episode has a story too. It's the nephew of Captain Kirk, Peter Kirk. He's gay and he has a gay partner. And the first part of the first episode deals about that they are a gay couple, and well, they have a make-out scene, and quite honestly, doesn't matter if they're gay or not. I never liked make-out scenes in Star Trek because it's not a romance show, it's a sci-fi show. But they have a make-out scene and they want to get married, and they talk to Captain Kirk about Captain Kirk marrying his nephew, and Kirk didn't know that Peter Kirk, his nephew, was gay, and Kirk acts surprised. And I don't want any weird modern fake leftist people saying, oh, he's so bigoted for acting surprised that Peter Kirk isn't gay. Of course you don't automatically know if someone is gay or straight, obviously. Captain Kirk was surprised because he didn't know his nephew was gay, not because he thinks it's a bad thing, but because he didn't know. You don't know, you don't see it on people's foreheads, obviously. So for a moment he was surprised, and if anybody complains about bigotry there, they should just go beep beep themselves. I know I already said the F words, but still. Yeah, so they agreed to get married. Captain Kirk says, yeah, of course I may marry you. You're my nephew, and I wish you all the happiness in the world with your partner, Alex. But anyway, they find a ship, no life forms, and they need to do an away team, and there's also that conflict between Captain Kirk and Peter Kirk. It's the first episode that Peter Kirk appears, and there's a conflict that Peter Kirk feels like Captain Kirk leaves him out of the dangerous missions to in a weird way do him a favor that he doesn't really want. He wants to prove himself as a real, fully capable Starfleet officer, and he's a security officer. And there's that away mission, and Peter Kirk's partner, Alex Freeman, is an assistant to Dr. McCoy, and there's a medical issue going on the ship that they find. So Alex Freeman has to go, and Peter Kirk insists he has to go too, because he doesn't want any favors from Captain Kirk, so he is sent to. And the story develops that they beam on the ship, everything is strange, everything is abandoned, they just find there's a force field around places. But I'm hesitating a bit here because it's not so much about the story, but because about the character interactions and the character developments. The story is just on the side, really. They are on the ship and it's infested by regular bloodworms, and they have to they discover that, and it has some really gruesome CGI scene, which is kind of amazing. You wouldn't see that on mainstream Star Trek. It's really gruesome. It's like B-movie, horror movie kind of gruesome. And well, you did actually see something like that once on TNG in the first season, Conspiracy, when they blew up Dexter Reming's head. That was awesome. That was awesome. Anyway, they eventually find themselves in a force field that contains the original crew members that are left of that ship. They didn't know there was any life on board before, because they couldn't scan through the force field. But once they're in there, they find out, yeah, there's some people alive. But I'm sorry for hesitating. It's really not about the story, it's about the character development. When they are inside, they meet Denise Crosby as Tasha Yar's ancestor and her husband, and they were researching a way that regular bloodworms could be cured, because originally they were developed as a biological weapon, and they found a cure, but there's some convoluted stuff about the cure. And then her husband is Section 31, and then Karg from the Klingons appears and puts them under pressure to destroy the bloodworms, or he will destroy both ships. And then the Section 31 guy tries to take over the ship, but Tasha Yar's ancestor stops him. But they find the cure. I'm sorry if I'm a bit confused here, because the story, I never really paid attention to the story, because the whole thing is actually about Peter Kirk and his partner Alex Freeman. And the story just kind of runs on this side, except for that gruesome scene, and I never managed to pay much attention to it, because it's a really cool character story. You really pay attention to the characters, and then there's, like typically in Star Trek, there's some really cool character stories, but there's also some sci-fi stuff happening on the side, but you only pay attention to the characters. And when somebody asks you about the story, like, yeah, there was some really futuristic stuff going on, but I was paying attention to the characters. Anyway, Dr. McCoy finds a cure, but it only works with blood transfusions that take long, so they can only go to the other ship, do a blood transfusion, and beam people over 2 at a time. So it takes very long, but at the same time the regular bloodworms are threatening the force fields, and at the same time they have to beam slowly 2 at a time. So there's a race against the clock, and Commander Karg of the Klingon also threatens to kill them. There's a race against the clock. Anyway, they beam 2 at the time, and in the end Alex Freeman is left alone, because his partner, Peter Kirk, and Dr. McCoy want to volunteer to be the last to stay, but Alex Freeman just sneakily injects them with the transfusions, so they have to go first, and he's the one to be left. And then the force field fails, and he tries to defend himself, but he dies, and Peter Kirk wants to kill the Section 31 guy, and he's angry and pissed at everything. I can't really transport this well, because you have to watch the episode. It's really, really well done. And it's really funny, because the guy who plays Peter Kirk and the guy who plays Alex Freeman, they're terrible amateur actors, but still they transport the feelings really well. They really get you into the characters and the story. Even though the acting is really terrible amateurs, they still play it with such conviction that it gets you into the story. You really have to watch it to really understand what I'm trying to ramble on about the scene where Alex Freeman dies and Peter Kirk is on the Enterprise, and he has to decide between killing the Section 31 guy who is responsible for everything, and having rage against Captain Kirk, having rage against the Klingon, and having rage against everything, and Captain Kirk has to talk him down in the typical Captain Kirk way, that you have to calm down, we can only solve this if you calm down. But it's such an intense character moment. And it's really what this whole episode is about, the intense character moments, especially between Peter Kirk and Alex Freeman. That the whole two-parter is just intense character moments between those two. And it makes you even more shocked that this script was rejected in that god-awful first season of TNG that would have elevated the whole season by 10 levels with those intense character moments. It's shocking. I mean, just for homosexuality. Oh, boo hoo, yeah, go Westboro Baptist Church. Who gives a rat's arse that some people are gay? That was just such an amazing story and such an amazing character story. If you put that in the middle of TNG season 1, amid all those god-awful episodes like Code of Justice and, you know, what was the one where Wesley fell into the wrong garden and had to be killed? Or the one where Wesley and other kids were kidnapped? God, the whole season was so awful, and then you find out they had a script like that available with those amazing character moments, and they just wasted it for no real reason, except that they didn't feel it's safe to portray two guys kissing each other until 25 years later. That's just pathetic. So pathetic. And yeah, there was a lot of confusion about the story. I'm sorry about that I was stammering so much about the story, because it's really about the characters, not about those CGI worms. They're cool. They have one gruesome scene, those Regulan bloodworm devouring scenes. They're cool, but the sci-fi stuff, who cares? It's such a great character episode. And it's really amazing, and it's really pathetic to think that they rejected that when they had the chance to put that in the worst TNG season, the worst TNG era season. They just wasted it because, yeah, some hicks in Alabama might not watch our show anymore if we show that. How pathetic. And they wait 25 years later until it's safe to show something like that, and then they do it in a crappy show like Star Trek Discovery. It's pathetic. It's really pathetic. So instead, I'm glad New Voyages did this script, finally did this script that should have been done in 1987, but they finally at least did it and made such a great two-part episode, and really another reason why Star Trek Phase 2 New Voyages is so damn amazing.